What is up, boys and girls? Welcome back. When we last left the thrilling conclusion of our last episode, I guess we'll call them, the engine was back in the expo bus. Everything's bolted up. It turns over freely. Transmission works. I assume the clutch works. We'll find that out. Battery is in place. Fuel cells out of the way for now, at least. And I'm going to tackle finalizing wiring and getting everything routed, and then laying out where my intake pipe's going to go and my exhaust. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on wiring because I want this thing to start up and run and have this bus be mobile. So that's going to be our goal over the next 2 days, is to get all of the wiring buttoned up and get parts on order for intake tubing so I can hook up mass airflow and all that good stuff. So let's get cracking. Alright, when we last left our Hero, we had installed the engine. Or we were installing the engine, I guess. Ran into a little issue with the fuel cell hitting, so it's just moved up out of the way. Have everything plumbed up using fuel injection rated lines, good for I think 120 psi. Made this little board here just to try to keep wires more organized, have VCDS plugged in so I can keep an eye on what's happening. As of now, it's cranking over and it fires, but it won't catch, and I'm concerned that it's just firing from fuel that's leaking by the injectors. So I went and bought this Noid light set. I'm going to plug in. We don't have any codes stored aside from no cluster present and no ABS module and all that stuff, but it is immobilizer defeated, so it shouldn't care about not having a cluster. It should start. So I believe that the injectors aren't firing, and there's something in this mess of wiring that I'm missing to trigger the injectors. I know I have 12 volt plus to the injectors. It's just whatever's triggering it out of the ECU I think it's not getting. So I'm going to try to diagnose that and see where we're at. So after going through Noid lights, testing everything, fuel pressure, playing with fuel pressure, adjusting fuel pressure, chasing wires, I had the spark plug wires reversed. Switch those around and so yeah, there's that. But super stoked. It's fired up. Now I can start chasing this big bundle of wires to where it goes. Get a mass airflow installed. Hook up the oxygen sensor so it actually will run. Probably get rid of my vacuum plugs and whatnot here. And ready to basically just button up wiring, get intake tubing run, some kind of muffler, because this thing is definitely loud. It's loud. So that's where I'm at. Success, and just gonna work on that now. Okay, so one of the issues I ran into when I went to put the 2 liter back in is, I'm gonna walk around so that we can see what's going on. The fuel cell is hitting this water outlet, which you can kind of see down in there. It sticks off the back of the head. When I first test fit it, that water outlet was off, and it needs to be there basically for all of the coolant plumbing. So basically I need to slide the fuel cell back about 3 inches, and also gives me a little more clearance to work with back here for breathers and everything else. So if you're afraid of hacking stuff, don't look. Took the Sawzall, trim the floor, and I'm just going to basically put this back increase the angle of this bend a little bit because I'm raising this whole back floor anyhow. So figured I would just wedge this, just put 2 filler pieces on either side of here, and done. So sorry I cut the bus up more, but it was for the greater good. So now we can really get an idea of the packaging going on back here. Battery's going to fit perfect right there. Like I said, I'm going to have a battery box for it. Make sure it's enclosed because it is next to the fuel cell, but it is what it is. Fuel cell is where it needs to be. So I need to move this mess here. So I need to build a bracket, mount up everything in the fuel system, the pump, and the regulator. Get it all mounted, get those fuel lines all tied up. I may eventually go to hard lines, but I mean, it's a short run. I feel like it's safer than every other air-cooled Volkswagen on the road. Get that done. Come up with piping off of this. I think I'm just going to go straight this way and throw an intake up in here where the air vents are so that it can get cool air sucked into it. And so that'll be done. Mass air will go in there. Figure out all the rest of these vacuum lines. I'm considering, oh well, another reason it's running bad. I had that cap, but apparently it blew off when it backfired, so there's vacuum leaks everywhere right now that I need to address. And then PCV breather system, I'm just going to tie back into this plumbing right here, so that or this plumbing right here, sorry, so that I have a working PCV system. So that'll take care of all of the intake vacuum side of things. And then exhaust wise, I'm going to look for a small quiet muffler, and I think just come right alongside down here and run it there, and then like a tailpipe across the back maybe with a rear exit like a regular Volkswagen. That's going to come into play with the bumper and hitch and everything, so I'm probably just going to put a muffler and a dump on it and then finalize all the rest of it after I have the armor and everything built. And also, if I do drop the engine and trans down, that'll all be based on that, but I at least need to quiet it down and get some kind of muffler. And then, yeah, the rest of the wiring. So that's the rest of the gist back here, but I really like how it's all coming together. Even though I had to hack it up some more, it's not horrible. And I mean, I am going to cut a giant hole in the roof, so that's the least of the worries for the Sawzall on this baby. I was hoping to conclude this with a thrilling test drive and a super clickbaity thumbnail saying first drive and all capital letters and some kind of cool font, but that wasn't the case. But I temporarily mounted up the throttle pedal. I don't know if I've mentioned or not, but this particular setup is drive-by-wire. So rather than a throttle cable, you have these 6 wires that run back. I just obviously temporarily mounted up some trailer wire. They run back, and we walk back here and connect to the ECU and tell throttle position. So was hoping to be able to get it moving, but the clutch is completely stuck. So it's soaking in blaster, and hopefully we'll get freed up, and maybe next week I can at least get it to move. But super stoked with all the progress made on this thing. Getting it running, pretty awesome. So that's where I'm going to leave it for now, and next week maybe we'll get to drive it, get to run it out under its own power, and start tackling this gigantic list that I've made up for it. So thanks for watching. You know what to do with the like, the subscribe, and all that stuff, and see you next time.